How's it going, guys? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Michael, and today I'm gonna take a little bit of a risk and start filming on a cloudy, slightly rainy day. So let's see what happens. I hope I don't get rained on. I hope I don't have to take shelter in a random place. But if that happens, I will try to finish the video anyway. And today's topic that I wanted to talk with you guys about is what is the best place to live in Asia? Or I guess, in other words, I'm gonna tell you guys about the different countries that I've lived in and my opinion about, I guess, the pros and cons of each one. Maybe which one do I like the most? So, I guess maybe the first country I'll start with is Japan, because obviously Japan is the first place that I've lived abroad. I'm from Canada, so Canada is the first place that I lived. But yeah, Japan is the first place where I lived abroad. So let's talk about Japan first. A lot of people really love Japan. Obviously, it's very popular. Anime, sushi, let's just say special videos from Japan. I know a lot of people have seen some videos from Japan, if you know what I'm talking about. So Japan is obviously pretty popular of a place, and I think it's for very good reason that it's popular. So I would say the pros of Japan is that it has a very cool culture. And it has a lot of soft power. So what do I mean by soft power? It has a lot of kind of cultural influence. Obviously, a lot of people watched anime as kids. I myself grew up with Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon. I remember Inuyasha, Sailor Moon were on TV. So there was a lot of cool shows that we grew up with as kids, a lot of video games, think like Nintendo and PlayStation, Super Mario, all these things come from Japan. So it has a lot of soft power. It has a soft, happy place in our childhood memories, right? And besides the soft power that Japan has, it also has a very good culture in terms of, traditional Japanese culture of respect, cleanliness, orderliness, collectivism, working together. So when I lived in Japan, I really noticed how well everything ran there, how polite people were. Everything just always felt very comfortable in Japan. You never have any, problems. If anybody starts acting weird in Japan or rude, it's really shamed. It's looked down upon like very strongly by other people. And if you ever see somebody doing something strange or rude in Japan, you're gonna see how everybody turns on them instantly. And you can be the one to call them out if you want, and people will support you. So that's what I really love about Japan. They're such nice people. Obviously they have their own problems in Japan as well, such as loneliness. Their work culture is extreme in Japan as well. So that's actually probably the biggest con, I would say, is the work culture. As good as things are with the politeness and the orderliness, it kind of comes at a cost. Working hard is what keeps everything going, and people are expected to sacrifice themselves for the greater good in terms of work in Japan. So if you ever work there, you're gonna be grinding. And when I was working there as an English teacher, I was grinding hard and I was not making that much money either. I was barely getting by. I wasn't really saving any money. So I would say living in Japan, you have to work super hard and you don't make that much money unless you have a really good job like IT, engineering, something like that. Anyway, maybe I'll talk about Thailand next. So Thailand and Japan are similar in that they are both Buddhist countries. They kind of both have this feeling where people are very nice and try to show the best selves for each other and support each other. Like, you get the feeling that people are trying to be good in these kind of Buddhist countries because it kind of ties into their beliefs about karma. And you know, it's all about their spiritual beliefs, the way they act in these Buddhist countries. So right off the bat, Thai people are very nice people. They try to help you, you know. Conflict is frowned upon, again, in Thailand. Thailand is very cheap as well. So the thing, I have lived in Thailand, I never worked there, but again, the salary is lower if you do work in Thailand, if you're teaching English especially. But they have very nice places to live with amenities like pools, like a gym, very modern kind of apartments, you know, and it's very affordable as well. You know, so for example, if you go to Chiang Mai, you can easily find an apartment for 10,000 Thai baht per month, which I guess would translate to about 300 USD a month for a top-notch, beautiful, well, I don't know top-notch, but it's gonna be a pretty nice place. There's gonna be a pool, a gym, maybe even a sauna. You know, it's gonna be your own place. It's gonna be clean. It's gonna be new. So that's the upside of living. If you can find a remote job, if you can work online, which is very possible if you teach English. If you find an online teaching job, I would say it's pretty easy to live in Thailand. But by Western standards, you won't really be saving a ton of money. But you will be living a pretty good, comfortable life, I would say. So that's what I like about Thailand. You live well for cheap. But the downside is it's kind of hot there. One thing that happened to me when I lived in Thailand was I was hoping to live there for work, but what actually ended up happening was the heat and the weed, the smoking that green herb, kind of demotivated me, and it made working seem like this huge chore in a way. So that was kind of the downside of Thailand for me. And also I find that Thailand is a little bit hard to focus sometimes on, you know, on disciplined routines. I think it has to do with that green herb, to be honest. And every time I get into the habit of smoking the green herb, it kind of derails all of my good habits and I lose my focus, I lose my momentum, and overall it's just not that good, right? Anyway, guys, maybe I'll show you. There's not much around here in this area. I'm in Saigon. I'm near District 2 in kind of a newer area. There's a lot of development going on here, as you guys can see with those fences. Let's see, yeah, right there, these fences here. They're developing a lot of land. You can hear as well across this river, there's even more land being developed. And obviously they're building condos. They're building, you know, like this condo right here. They're building these brand new luxurious sorts of places. And I guess that will take me to the next country, which is Vietnam. The pros and cons of living in Vietnam. Overall, I would say that living in Vietnam is pretty good because of a lot of reasons. The biggest reason is that Vietnam is super affordable, similar to Thailand. And in some cases, it can even be a little bit more affordable than Thailand, especially these days where the Thai baht has been kind of, the value of the Thai baht has been a little bit higher recently. So I would say Vietnam is even cheaper than Thailand. Why are they building so many condos in Saigon, where I am? I guess there must be a demand for them, you know? Maybe people want to move here. Maybe people want to invest in these condos. So I would say that rent is quite affordable here as well. Of course, if you're in one of these fancier condos, the rent might be a little higher. I would say around maybe 700 USD per month for your own place. You know, 1 bedroom with living room, and you'll probably get the amenities as well, the swimming pool, the gym, you know, all that kind of stuff. So for 700 USD a month, you will still get a very nice place. You can get cheaper places as well for probably, you could probably get decent places for about 200 USD a month, but they're gonna be very basic. It's gonna be a studio probably. No amenities, no swimming pool, you know. It's gonna be very basic, but you can get super affordable places to live in Saigon. The food is very cheap and very good here as well. People are nice, and one thing that I especially like in Vietnam is every time I come here, I get this feeling like I can focus, I can work, I can start kind of building and grinding and working on my goals again. And why is that? I am not quite sure. It's just the feeling I get when I'm here is everybody kind of feels like they're hustling here, especially in Saigon. There's kind of like this hustle, buzz kind of energy in the air that kind of makes you also want to grind and focus. So yeah, every time I come here, I feel like I can focus, especially more than Thailand, where in Thailand I'm just kind of lazy and I'm smoking the green herb. Here you can find the green herb, but it's, you know, it's a little bit more hidden. It's not as easily accessible. And things feel faster paced here than in Thailand. So I prefer that myself because it helps me keep in a routine. I really need that kind of routine for my own sanity, for my mental health. And the downsides of Vietnam, as an English teacher, I would say the salaries are not too bad here. They're higher than in Thailand for sure. You can get you can get by here pretty, you know, you can live a decent life. You can save a little bit of money here. I would say working here is better than in Japan because the work culture is not as intense here. I would say it's a little bit more laid back. So really the downsides, it's kind of hard to think of really big downsides of living in Vietnam. I would say maybe the social life in Vietnam is not as easily accessible as Japan. Like when I lived in Osaka, the social life was very fun. It was easy to make friends. Here, I feel like it's a little bit, it doesn't feel as fun as Osaka. So it does feel a little bit more boring in Vietnam. Maybe that's a downside. It can feel a little more boring compared to, you know, fun places like Osaka. But I mean, if you're in Saigon, then you can find things to do. You can find groups on Facebook, but just not as much as in Osaka. So overall, I think Vietnam is pretty good and it's developing rapidly. I don't know, I feel like this is a good place to kind of invest some time in, you know. It's up to you, but I feel like if you were to invest your time into a career here, it could probably flourish if you really stuck with it, made connections. So finally, let's talk about China. So China, as an English teacher, I would say the biggest pro is the money. China, teaching English in China pays a lot more than the other countries that I've mentioned. In fact, I was earning about double what I was earning in Vietnam when I was teaching in China, which was really good. It was like the first time in my life where I felt like I was making a living where I could actually afford a house in the future if maybe not in the West, maybe not in Canada, but if I wanted to buy a property in Asia, I felt like by working in China, I could make this happen in a decent amount of time. You know, like if I really grinded for like 5 years in China, I could definitely buy a home, at least for myself, like an apartment somewhere in Asia. So that's the biggest pro of China. You're gonna get really good money. Also, everything is pretty efficient in China in terms of the infrastructure. Taking taxis from place to place in China is super affordable, super cheap. The subways are super cheap. You know, the metro system's very affordable. The food is quite affordable. The cost of living in general is pretty affordable in China. A little bit higher than in Vietnam and Thailand, but you know, if you're teaching English there, the salary you're making, it felt like I was spending next to nothing when I was living in China because I had a free apartment. You know, I was just paying for food, some utilities, you know, some things for fun. I was saving like 80% of my paycheck in China. I was making bank when I was working there. But it comes at a cost. The biggest con I found living in China was the social aspect of it, the cultural aspect of it. There was a lot of isolation that I felt in China. Living in China, I was living in Qingdao, which is not a small city. It's a tier 2 city. which means that it's not like the biggest cities like Shanghai, Beijing, but it's the second tier. You know, Beijing would be tier 1, Shanghai tier 1. They have like 5 or 6 cities in tier 1. So Qingdao was tier 2, which means it's a big city. There were some foreigners in Qingdao, and you know, you can make some friends, but the thing that really was a con to me was how I felt around Chinese people. And I don't want to sound racist, but it feels like they have this kind of collectivist, nationalistic mentality in China. And you as a foreigner are seen as an outsider, like you're not part of their collective mind. And so you really do feel that like outsiderness. And I don't know if it's the language as well, but I always felt like people were talking about me out loud, like not even trying to be, you know, subtle about it. They were just directly, blatantly talking about me, and that shit like drove me fucking crazy sometimes, because as an introvert I kind of just want my own space. So yeah, that really grinded my gears living in China sometimes. It's their collectivist mindset where you it feels like you can't even be yourself because they don't accept it. It's like they don't accept who you are. It's like they have their own version of reality and they like force you to be a part of it. And it just feels weird as a person coming from a Western country. Like, we value our sense of individuality. We want to be who we want to express ourselves. We want to be who we are, right? But if you do that in China, they just look at you blankly like, what the fuck are you doing? Like you're not living in a real reality or something, and you have to follow like, it's so weird. It's hard to explain, but it just grinds your gears. You could be as friendly, you can do everything right, but they still have this like wall where they cannot accept your version of reality. Like, and it's just very tiring. It's very tiring. So living in China, it really like, it wore me down. It felt very like emotionally ungrounded. Like everything happening around you doesn't follow like this same emotional logic that we have in Western countries. It's like they're living in this like mirror reverse reality where if something bothers you, it's your fault. I don't know, it's very hard to explain, but holy Jesus, living there was like it felt like I was making money, but I was paying with my soul. Like I was like giving up like a part of my soul to try and like be a part of their culture. So that was very weird. And would I do it again? Maybe I would go to a different place to see if it's the same. To save more money, I would kind of, you know, just put my head down and grind for a bit just to save up some money. That's what I might do. But I don't know if I could survive there for long if every part of China is the same as how it was in Qingdao. So that's just what I think about China right now. Of course, other people might have different experiences, but I'm sure a lot of people who have lived in China kind of can feel what I'm talking about. Maybe some people can relate. But damn, yeah. I feel like I need to catch my breath right now. I've been talking for so long. But anyway, yeah, that's those are just the countries that I've lived in. And I would say my favorite would have to be Vietnam or Japan. In terms of where I am in my life, you know, I feel like I'm in my early 30s, so I feel like right now I need to be kind of disciplined. I need to be working towards my goals, you know, financial goals or career goals. I need to be developing skills right now. I need to be focused. And so in that sense, Vietnam makes a lot of sense to me. And even China makes sense to me in that regard. But, you know, we're all human beings. We cannot be like robots who just collect money. Well, at least I can't. I have the emotional side of life as well, you know, like friendships, the way I feel in everyday life, the way I feel when I interact with people. I need to feel good. I need to feel like I'm valued for who I am and what I can do. And in that regard, I would prefer Japan and Vietnam for the social aspect of it. It just feels a little bit lighter. Even Thailand feels lighter. So, you know, all of these countries, it's kind of hard to choose like a number one. Even with China, like the money kind of balances out that soul grinding tax that you feel emotionally when you live there. Like everything kind of has its own balance, you know what I mean? So it depends really what you're looking for in whatever phase of life you're in. You know, if you just want to make money, you want to build experience, go to China. You know, you're gonna have to sacrifice some things, but working in China is really rewarding. And one thing that I really loved about working there, besides the money, was my colleagues. My team, my Chinese coworkers were amazing. They were very supportive. I felt like I was at home when I was with my Chinese colleagues. Maybe I was lucky. I had a very good team, but personally, I loved that like teamwork that I had with my colleagues in China. It was really like a safe haven for me in those times where I felt like a fucking person without a soul or something in China. Man, but then again, I would still go back to work there, just maybe in a different place or maybe with a different perspective, you know. So yeah, that's what I think about these different countries. If you guys have any questions, please ask me. I'm sure I missed a lot of points. I definitely missed a lot of points in this video. So yeah, leave some questions if you guys have any. And I've been living abroad for like 6-7 years, so I definitely have a bit of experience. I can share with you guys what I think. If you like the video, please like. If you guys can like the video, that actually helps a lot. That it helps YouTube share the video to other people. It kind of boosts me a little bit. Also, if you subscribe, that will help a lot. Yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Again, I appreciate you guys who are watching me. If you guys could leave a like, you will support me. So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and yeah, see you next time.